Hey everybody, welcome back. For those guys that are new, my name's Brad. I own a private practice, still a practicing physician, and I like to help people start or scale medical practices. Man, today let's talk about when you know it's time to hire a freaking manager, an office manager for your practice. All right, first off, I'm making this video real quick, this podcast for tomorrow on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all you fathers out there. I hope y'all are having a great day. I've got the pit warming up right now, and I'm about to throw some nice meat on there and have a good time with my kids later. So let's get on with it, all right? When do you know it's time to bring on an administrator or an office manager? Well, I'll be honest. When I first started my practice, I thought that admin was just like the absolute devil. You know, how many times you've gone on a physician like Facebook forum or something like that, and it's just like, well, those darn admin, and that's where all the money goes. There's a happy medium. There is some degree of administration and operation support that you will need. I mean, you're going to have a biller and onboard, eventually like an HR person. You can't get it down to zero, but that ratio is super important and something that I try to obsess over in my practice. This is usually how it goes. One is that you're either going to hire the office manager to begin with. Nothing wrong with that. Just know that they are probably not going to earn their keep for a little while, but they may make the practice run really well while you're doing things like when I was a hospitalist working 7 on, 7 off. It would have been nice to have a manager there that could have done a little bit of everything, set up my phone so that I didn't have to do it like after a 12-hour hospitalist shift, fixing the schedule, chasing a vendor invoice, just even like not forgetting to like check the mail. All those things would have been nice to have someone to do. That way I could have focused on just the practice of medicine. Now, on the flip side of that, I did not do it because I wanted to be as lean as possible. The downside with that is that let's say a physician on average is going to make what? At least $150. Let's round up to $200 an hour is what your time as a physician's worth. At a certain point, you're going to look in the mirror and be like, why am I doing a $25 an hour task? Okay, maybe there's other things. Maybe I just want to learn the process, the bottleneck, all these, that could do it. But at a certain point, you're going to have to sit there and say, why am I, as a $200 an hour employee, doing a $25 an hour task? First off, let's get it straight. Usually small practices, it's going to be all in one. But as you scale, there's actually 3 different job titles that are available. There's an office manager. That office manager is more front desk operations, scheduling, check-ins, check-outs, the day-to-day, buying supplies, making sure you don't run out of vaccines. That office manager is more of like a local, that's that one clinic location. Usually, maybe if you have 2 like clinics, they could do it. But then you have the practice manager. The practice manager is above them. Sometimes you'll hear them called like a regional manager, regional practice manager. Those are the ones that are more in charge of hiring and firing other MAs. They're going to be doing the HR potentially benefits. They're going to be dealing with vendor contracts. They're going to be talking about maybe compliance and HIPAA compliances and all the things that come with like credit card processing machine compliances. They may also be involved in KPI tracking, right? What's your missed copay rate on the front desk and how do you lean into that? Then above that, you're going to have your administrator, your COO. You're going to be focused on high level things. Should we open another location? Should we hire another physician, not just a medical assistant, but should we hire another physician? Most of the small businesses or small practices, they're going to need a office manager, maybe a practice manager, but an office manager at first. Now, the way that I did it is that I ended up getting an MA and I like elevated them to what I call the lead MA, lead medical assistant. So they kind of had a hybrid thing of they were half office manager and then they were half medical assistant. Because I think that once you elevate someone to a manager, a lot of times then I have found that they're going to be like, I'm not rooming patients anymore. I'm not picking up just regular Joe Schmo phone calls. No, yes, you are. Yes, you are. When the practice is very small, we are all doing 20 things. We are all plunging the toilet if it absolutely needs it. At a certain point, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you're going to have to sit there and say, okay, maybe I am the bottleneck. Maybe I'm doing the $25 an hour task and staff is waiting on me to create these SOPs, or they're just waiting for guidance on like, should we order more tetanus shots? Should we continue doing shingles vaccines? If your schedule's full and you're waking up like I was at like 4 a.m, just trying to fit it in, you're the bottleneck. 100%. Bro, you are the bottleneck. You need to get out of your own way. And you need to start offloading some of these things to whether it be an office manager, practice manager, maybe even a COO if you get to that level. Bottleneck numbers. Office manager could be anywhere from just one clinician just starting out, but a practice manager, in my experience, you're not going to hit that until you're over like $1.5 million revenue per year. In my experience, and this is a broad stroke here, right? You might message below and be like, well, Brad, but I'm different. Yeah, okay. All right. It's a broad assumption. But usually until you're about $1.5 million in top level revenue, you're not going to have or be busy enough to need a practice manager. Practice managers in my area are six figures. You're paying probably 100 grand for them. Maybe if you can get someone else, you're going to get them a little cheaper, 75 grand, but they're going to be six figures. That is very expensive for someone or a practice that is not bringing in $1 million a year. Let's say you're bringing in 900,000 a year. You're really going to pay 100 grand for a manager? That's over 10% of your entire top revenues going to one person. And they're not even bringing in revenue. They're making your life a little easier. You're too small, in my opinion. So how to find the right one? I've had way better success in hiring someone who wasn't directly involved in healthcare compared to someone who was involved in healthcare. Let me explain that real quick. Because whenever I hired my very first practice manager, she came from another clinic, a surgical clinic that had tons of experience. And the problem with that is that it was very stuck in the way of like, well, this is the way they did it. Yeah, they were a surgeon group. They had like 4 surgeons for the last 20 years. All right. I'm trying to scale and double in size every freaking year. We are totally different scenarios at this point in time. And they didn't understand that because they weren't the COO and they weren't in that operations of like, we're opening another clinic, we're hiring another person, we need to be super efficient. This is that practice manager that just told the front desk, I don't know, the way we always did it at the old place was just basically, type in the credit card in there. That's twice as expensive on the credit card fees. Stupid, horrible. That did not fit with my vision of what I want my practice to be. That's on me. I hired the absolute wrong office manager. Now, if I was stagnant or like, let's say I was United Healthcare and I was like trying to poach someone from Blue Cross Blue Shield that they just basically did exactly what I want them to do right there. And I want them to answer all those phone calls and not really grow and just stay in that bubble. There's a place for that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's why you pay them a lot of money to answer the phone calls and deal with the ticked off phone complaints. I mean, I recently read something that Mark Zuckerberg's kind of getting back into like the daily operations of, running Facebook or Meta at this point, because they call it Meta. And I read a quote from him where he literally said, every day I wake up and I look at like the notifications on my phone, I'm just like, Jesus Christ, they really did what? I can't believe they did that. That's what you're paying those people to do. You're paying them to put out the fires and the Jesus Christ, like, I can't believe they did X, Y, and Z. So the first thing, if I could go back, define the role. What are you hiring for? So like the practice manager that we have now, or our regional practice manager that we have now, she came from a gym and wellness industry. Think of supplements and other things, which yes, you could be like, snake oil salesman. But here's the important part is they went from nothing, no sales, to then I think like $500 million. And she was one of the right-hand women in scaling, hiring, just growing the hell out of that practice. That may sound like a good fit. That may sound like someone who would be a great fit for my organization that I want to scale the hell out of. I think it's also good to trial them out. When I hired my current manager, I said, you know what? You're going to start at a medical assistant. And I kind of did it to be like, you're going to pay your dues. You're going to pay your dues for 3 to 6 months, and we're going to see how you do. And I'll give you a little task along the way in a defined, structured order on taking things over. And we're going to see if you do a great job. That is the great way that I should have done it when the first time I hired my office manager or practice manager. Actually, I guess I should say the practice manager. I just threw her in the deep end. I was like, all right, you're the practice manager. Here you go. Boom, hit the ground running. And that brings it into the next point is that actually have a warm handoff. What are your goals? What are your boundaries? When do you expect them to check in? I don't know about you guys. My business partner and I, we have agreements. If it's below a certain threshold, we don't have to talk to each other about buying it, doing it, whatever. If it's above a certain threshold, dollar-wise, then we have to do it. And there's certain things that we agree upon. If we're going to hire another physician, we agree upon it. If we're going to hire another mid-level, we agree upon it. If we're going to open another clinic, we agree upon it. If we're buying like new EKG machines or something like that, who cares? Just buy it. You don't have to tell me about that. Also, in the very beginning, super important, you got to have those one-on-one meetings and you got to have KPIs. KPIs are basically, what are you measuring? All right. Are you measuring what's the no-show rate? How many, what percentage of patients are new patients? Where are they finding us from? How many new advertisements have we put out there? How many new urgent cares do they go hit this week and give cookies and business cards to? What doesn't get measured doesn't ever get any attention. So you need to put the attention into this to get people at least interested in going down the road and making your business thrive. If you're the bottleneck, you need to hire someone to get it off your plate. There's no right way to do it. The right way is your way. Like I said, I personally grinded it, and I probably should have hired a practice manager a lot sooner than what I did, because I was doing $25 tasks, making $200 an hour at that point in time. That was stupid. I should have never done that. Once I got the idea of what they do, create a standard operating procedure, offload that, because now I'm the bottleneck. I'm the bottleneck in why the practice is not growing, scaling, and hyper growth. However, if you have a practice of 10 surgeons and you don't want to grow, yeah, that's totally different scenario than what I'm in. Or if you're trying to be just like the most amazing plastic surgeon in the world, I would 100% hire someone who is just all about influencer, everything online, online reputation, and just like a super extrovert. That's what I would do. Know your market, know what you're looking for. But that's what I would do if I was looking to hire someone. And that's how I know when I'm ready. When I'm the bottleneck, time to offload it. And you are the bottleneck way more times than you think you are. All right, you guys. Thank you guys so much for following along on this one. Have a happy Father's Day and a great week ahead. See you guys on the next one.